This question is about the osmosis required practical. So we've got two chips here. Figure 5 shows two potato chips and they've given you 3 dimensions of the chip, X, Y and Z. And figure 6 shows some information about each potato chip. So they've got length of X, length of Y in centimeters, length of Z, and then total surface area of 4 sides and total surface area of bottom and total surface area of chip in centimeters squared. This one really is quite easy if you just take your time. It says calculate the total surface area, that's this, of chip B using the formula. Total surface area is 2 times xy, plus 2 times xz, plus 2 times yz, these two. So we can see this is how you set out your operation. 2 times 5 times 2, because that's x and y, do that, plus 2 times 5 times 2, again, x and z, because it's 5 and 2, and 2 times 2 times 2, because it's y and z. So depending on how you have, what type of calculator you have, if you have one with brackets, you can just enter it in like this, or if you want to work them out separately, then add them together, do it that way. Always double check your answer, but take your time with this one because it's an easy 2 marks. So it's just substituting these numbers into this equation. I guess what you need to know is that this is expressed as 2 times x times y, and you have to deal with these separately. And if you don't know that, you won't get it right. Potato chips were placed in distilled water for 20 minutes. Figure 7 shows the increase in mass of each potato chip. So you can see that potato chip A increased by 0.1 and potato chip B increased more with 0.3 increase in grams. Explain why, give a reason, so state and give a reason why chip B has a greater increase in mass than potato chip A. Well, firstly, remember, it has a greater surface area, and also it's a bigger chip, so it will have more cells. So you can see here, it's a much bigger chip. So there's 2 ways you can say this. Explain why potato chip B has a greater increase in mass. You can say either it has more cells or has a greater surface area. So why does that? Now we have to give a reason for why that means it will have a greater mass. So you say, so more water moves into the chip by osmosis. Whenever you're talking about water moving, always say by osmosis. That's an important point. So, and you have to say more water because you're making a comparison between 2. They both have a surface area. It's just this one has a bigger surface area, so more water moves into the chip. It's an important word to add. Potato chip A is transferred from the distilled water into a concentrated salt solution. That means water with a lot of salt dissolved into it. Explain what will happen to the cells in potato chip A. So this is the situation. We've got a chip here, or a cell from our chip, and we can see that these little crosses are salt molecules and the little blue ones are water molecules. And you can see there's more salt molecules outside in the solution, and there's less water. There's more water inside the chip. So osmosis tells us that water will move from a high water concentration to a low water concentration. And if water's leaving the cell will get smaller, it will shrink, it will decrease in mass. So what will happen? So we say what will happen. The cells will lose water. They'll become plasmolyzed. That's the word. They'll lose water by osmosis for another mark. So that's, remember, you always have to say, if you're talking about water moving, you must mention osmosis. It's that important, you get a mark for it. From a high concentration of water molecules to a low concentration of molecules across a semi-permeable membrane. So you're basically there just defining what osmosis is. This is the definition of osmosis. So we're showing that water moves from a high concentration to a low concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. That's a cell membrane, and it's called semi-permeable because it has little gaps in it which allow water through, but not salt because it's too big, or sugar because it's too big. So cells will lose water. That's what happens. And then we're giving a reason for why it happens, but it's a 2-mark reason. That's why it's 3 marks. Right. Potatoes of a potato plant develop underground. Explain one difference in the subcellular structures. That means the parts of the cell in a cell in the potato and those in a cell in a leaf of a potato plant. So this is quite an obvious one. If you're underground, you're not going to receive sunlight, and a leaf receives sunlight and uses that sunlight for photosynthesis. And to do that, leaves have chlorophyll or chloroplasts in abundance. But underground, you wouldn't need to invest energy in making it because no sunlight gets there. So less or no chloroplast in the potato cells. Or you could say more in the leaf, as photosynthesis occurs in leaves or doesn't occur underground. So explaining, so say the difference and then give a reason for the difference. That's what explain means. So remember the 2 marks: state it and then give a reason.